welcome everybody. I think there are no words for how I feel tonight. I think I'm at least overwhelmed. And I'm actually more comfortable on the trading floor than standing here in front of you as an artist. So when I show my work, I systematically get two questions. And the first question is, where are you from? Because I do realize that I'm the least expected person to stand here in front of you, probably. Yeah? You would expect a Chinese lady or gentleman. The second question is, where does this come from? How did this happen? Yeah. So the first question is an easy one. As Pierre said, I'm Belgian. I'm born in Belgium, and I was born in a family of travel addicts. There is a secret rule in our family: if you don't like traveling, you're not going to be happy there. So as children, we did get exposure to seeing slides and stories and pictures from all kinds of countries. I would have aunts and uncles traveling to Japan or China or Latin America and so on. We would get presents. So to us, that was a very natural thing to see and to do. So after I did a master in Chinese and economics back home, and then I left for my first job in Beijing. So I spent 2 years in Beijing working there, actually in the Belgian embassy. And yeah, you get used to the culture, and Asia somehow becomes your second home. So I have spent time in investment banking and private banking management consulting with Deloitte and Pricewaterhouse, HSBC, and so. So Hong Kong is home. I lived in and worked in Singapore, in Beijing twice, London. So beyond that, and then we come to the second question: how did this happen? So I was a closet artist, what investment bankers do in the weekends. I was like exploring or painting, other media and so on, till at a certain point I was getting intrigued by abstract art and the simplicity of abstract art. So I thought, where does it start and where does it stop? That a single line on a painting is not art anymore, or is not in its own. And I asked that question to my teacher and friend, then Manning Chung is here, and he didn't answer the question. He just said, take classes with Mr. Wong. And I had like, no, I'm quite poor. He's not, Chinese masters don't teach foreigners and so on, right? Anyway, I did that. Now, to take a small detour, and I think it's important to mention because there is history of East meets West. There have been very famous Chinese artists that moved to Paris, that moved to America and so on. And there have been European painters and artists who went to China and went to try to find what is the essence of these brushstrokes. And one very famous example is actually Picasso. Because Picasso said, I'm born in Spain, and that's why I'm a painter. If I was born in China, I would be a poet and a calligrapher. So he did go and search for what is this, and there are beautiful poems that he wrote in Spanish with Chinese ink. Yeah? Till 1956 he meets Zhang Daqian, one of the most famous 20th century artists, and they met in Cannes, in the south of France. And Zhang Daqian said to Picasso, you're using the wrong brushes. You can't do this. It will never work. So, coming back to my story then, the first question is it the ink, is it the brush, or is it the ink and the brush and the paper, and what is it that makes really Chinese calligraphy? So, I go back to my story when I met with Mr. Wong, and what Mr. Wong does is he teaches you technique, but he doesn't do it at the level of the characters. And even then, because I can write Chinese, yeah, he takes you beyond the characters in the essence of calligraphy, the strokes. And that's where you learn the difference between a Western brushstroke or a Chinese calligraphy stroke. And a Chinese calligraphy stroke has a clear middle element. And that's where it starts. And the essence of calligraphy is not because you use Chinese ink, so Picasso wrote poems in Spanish in Chinese ink. It's not because you use Chinese ink in a medium that you have Chinese art. So the essence sits in the brushstrokes. So that's what I was learning. So we practiced on newspaper. And he would say, don't spend the money, take newspaper. And I would do strokes and strokes and strokes and strokes and strokes, throw them out. Yeah, so I would go on the way to work, you know, on the walking bridge in Chongwan. They give you free newspaper. So they didn't want to give it to me because I'm a foreigner, why would you give it to me, yeah? So that's where I got my free newspaper and I was practicing. And at a certain point, you start to feel the joy in that. And then you go to the next level. And the reason why it's difficult to talk about art is something that gets created in the moment. It's not something that's designed. It's not, none of these paintings, even if you look at the Shanshui in the back, that is never ever planned. It's not designed. It's something that comes together from your feeling. Yeah, and that is what you cannot talk about. And that is the flow you start to feel in the brushstrokes, and then you get into the space of balance, and then you get into the Chinese philosophies of Buddhism, Taoism, Yin and Yang, all these kind of things. Now, if you write about it, you read about it, you can't feel it. But if you paint, then you will feel it. The moment you talk about it, it's gone. So that's why it is very difficult to talk about art and what happens. So again, without technique, you cannot wake up one beautiful morning and write Chinese calligraphy. That's not going to happen. But I started my journey in ink 4 years ago, and I took 8 classes. Yeah. So if you get the right technique with the right master, who helps you to look beyond just characters, because, yeah, I do have an advantage, because if I'm not Chinese, I'm not unconsciously immediately reading, yeah? Now, there is an interesting thing about Western audiences and Chinese audiences, because when Chinese audiences look at the calligraphy, you see their eyes and their head moving and looking for the flow. Western people don't do that. They look at paintings as a totality. So every time you look at the person standing there, I know that now, they approach a painting totally differently. There are also and I'm generalizing, there are in Western art no paintings with empty spaces. Yeah, they fill it up. So anyway, that's in a nutshell a little bit of the journey. We do ink studios now Saturday and another one. I'm not gonna take too long. There is a reason why we're standing in front of these 5 paintings, because that is where I am in my journey. I've explored single calligraphy masters like Xu Wei and Mi Fu and so from the past. And my next question was, is it possible to bring different masters in one piece? Or is that just going to be a hot mess? Yeah? So that's what I'm exploring now. So that's a new journey. So these 5 pieces are based on 5 different calligraphy masters of the past. And I call it the Orchid Pavilion. Yeah, the poems of the Orchid Pavilion. So I think many people of you know the story, right? So the Orchid Pavilion goes back in like, I think 320 AD, something like that. And it's Midsummer Festival, and there is 42 masters on the mountain next to the river. And they are in a drinking competition. So it goes like this. They float the glasses with wine over the river. If the glass arrives in front of you, you either drink or you write a poem. Yeah? So I wanted to take this story to welcome you again. There is no river here. Good for Pierre. Maybe one day Marie can take us to Hong Kong in nature to do our next party. So there is no river, and we are not going to ask you to write poems, and we are not suggesting you to go drunk either. So on that note, I want to thank everybody to come here, and I can only say I'm overwhelmed by seeing you all here and showing so much interest in the art I'm making. So a big thank you to Hans, who is running all the Marriott hotels here in the region, and Pierre and his team for making this evening possible and have an artist's dream come true. So cheers.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sure most of you are feeling so inspired now and can't wait to chat with you and